Adapted from archaic translation by W. H. D. Rouse. Jataka number 152. Sagala Jataka. Who rashly undertakes, etc. This story the master told while staying in his gabled chamber, about a barber who lived at Vaishali city. This man, as we are told, used to do shaving and hairdressing and haircross plaiting for the royal household, kings and queens, princes and princesses. Indeed, he did all of that kind that had to be done. He was a true believer, sheltered in the three refuges, Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, resolved to keep the 5 rules. And from time to time he would listen to the master's discourses. One day he set out to do his work in the palace, taking his son with him. The young fellow, seeing a Lichavi girl dressed up fine and grand, like a nymph, fell in love for desire of her. He said to his father, as they left the palace in company, "There is a girl, if I get her, I shall live. But if I don't, there's nothing but death for me." He would not touch a morsel of food, but lay down hugging the bedstead. His father found him and said, "Why, son, don't set your mind on forbidden fruit. You are a nobody, a barber's son. This Lichavi girl is a high-born lady. You're no match for her. I'll find you somebody else. A girl of your own place and position." But the boy would not listen to him. Then came mother, brother, and sister, aunt and uncle, all his family, and all his friends and companions, trying to pacify him. But pacify him they could not. So he weakened and weakened away with broken heart, and lay there until he died. Then the father performed his funeral rites, and did what is usual to do for the spirits of the dead. In due course of time, when the first edge of grief had worn off, he thought he would wait upon the master. Taking a large present of flowers, scents, and perfumes, he went to Mahavana, and did reverence to the master, saluted him, and sat down on one side. "Why have you kept out of sight all this time, layman?" the master asked. Then the man told him what had happened. Said the master, "Ah, layman, it is not the first time he has perished by setting his heart on what he must not have. This is only what he has done before." Then at the layman's request, he told a story of the olden time. Once upon a time, while Brahmadatta was king of Benares, the Bodhisattva came into the world as a young lion in the region of Himalaya. Of the same family there were some younger brothers, and one sister. And all of them lived in a golden cave. Now hard by this cave was a cave of crystal on a silver hill, where a jackal lived. In due course of time the lions lost their parents by the stroke of death. Then they used to leave the lioness, their sister, behind in the cave, while they ranged for food. Which when they obtained, they would bring it back for her to eat. Now the jackal had caught sight of this lioness, and fell in love with her. But while the old lion and lioness lived, he could win no access. Now, when the 7 brothers went to seek food, out he came from his crystal cave, and made all haste to the golden cave. Where, taking his stand before the young lioness, he addressed her mischievously with these seductive and tempting words. "O lioness, I am a 4-foot creature, and so are you. Therefore do you be my mate, and I will be your husband. We will live together in friendship and amity, and you shall love me always." Now on hearing this the lioness thought to herself, "This jackal here is mean amongst beasts, nasty, and like a man of low caste. But I am esteemed to be one of royal issue. That he to me should so speak is unseemly and evil. How can I live after hearing such things said? I will hold my breath until I shall die." Then, thinking about her for some time, "No," said she, "to die so would not be attractive. My brothers will soon be home again. I will tell them first, and then I will put an end to myself." The jackal, finding that no answer came, felt sure she cared nothing for him. So back he went to his crystal cave, and lay down in much misery. Now one of the young lions, having killed a buffalo, or an elephant, or what not, himself ate some of it, and brought back a share for his sister, which he gave her, inviting her to eat. "No, brother," says she, "not a bite will I eat. For I must die." "Why must that be?" he asked. And she told him what had happened. "Where is this jackal now?" he asked. She saw him lying in the crystal cave, and thinking he was up in the sky, she said, "Why, brother, cannot you see him there on Silver Mountain, lying up in the sky?" The young lion, unaware that the jackal lay in a crystal cave, and deeming that he was truly in the sky, made a spring, as lions do, to kill him, and struck against the crystal, which burst his heart apart, and falling to the foot of the mountain, he perished straightway. Then came in another, to whom the lioness told the same tale. This lion did even as the first, and fell dead by the mountain foot. When 6 of the brother lions had perished in this way, last of all entered the bodhisattva. When she had told her story, he inquired where was the jackal now. "There he is," said she, "up in the sky, above Silver Mountain." The bodhisattva thought, "Jackals lying in the sky? Nonsense. I know what it is. He is lying in a crystal cave." So he went to the mountain's foot, and there he saw his 6 brothers lying dead. "I see how it is," thought he. "These were all foolish, and lacked the fullness of wisdom. Not knowing that this is the crystal cave, they beat their hearts out against it, and were killed. This is what comes of acting in rashness without due understanding." And he repeated the first stanza. Who rashly undertakes an enterprise, not counting all the issue may arise, like one who burns his mouth in eating food, falls victim to the plans he did devise. After repeating these lines, the lion continued, "My brothers wanted to kill this jackal, but knew not how to lay their plans cleverly. So they leapt up too quickly at him, and so came by the death. This I will not do. But I will make the jackal burst his own heart as he lies there in the crystal cave." So he saw out the path by which the jackal used to go up and down, and turning that way he roared thrice the lion's roar, that earth and heaven together were all one great roaring. The jackal lying in the crystal cave was frightened and astounded, so that his heart burst. And he perished on the spot immediately. The master continued, "Thus did this jackal perish on hearing the lion roar. And being perfectly enlightened, he repeated the second stanza. On Dadara the lion gave a roar, and made Mount Dadara reverberate again. Hard by a jackal lived. He feared much so to hear the sound, and it burst his heart in two. Thus did our lion do this jackal to death. Then he laid his brothers together in one grave, and told the sister they were dead, and comforted her. And he lived the rest of his days in the golden cave, until he passed away to the place which his merits had earned for him." When the master had ended this discourse, he revealed the truths, and identified the birth. At the conclusion of the truths, the layman was established in the fruit of the first path. The barber's son of today was then the jackal. The Lichavi girl was the young lioness. The 6 younger lions are now 6 elders. And I myself am the eldest lion. Source. Adapted from archaic translation by W. H. D. Rouse. Jataka number 153. Sakara Jataka. You are a 4-foot, etc. This is a story told by the master while at Jetavana Monastery, about a certain elder monk well stricken in years. Once, we are told, there happened to be a night service, and the master had preached standing upon a slab of the jeweled staircase at the door of his scented cell. After delivering the discourse of the blessed, he retired into his scented chamber. And the captain of the faith, saluting his master, went back to his own cell again. Mahamogaliana too retired to his cell, and after a moment's rest returned to ask the elder monk Sariputra a question. As he asked each question, the captain of the faith made it all clear, as though he were making the moon rise in the sky. There were present the 4 classes of disciples, who sat and heard it all. Then a thought came into the mind of one aged elder monk. Suppose, he thought, I can puzzle Sariputra before all this crowd, by asking him some question. They will all think, what a clever fellow. And I shall gain great credit and repute. So he rose up in the crowd, and stepping near to the elder monk, stood on one side, and said, Friend Sariputra, I too have a question for you. Will you let me speak? Give me a decision in discrimination or in undiscrimination, in refutation or in acceptation, in distinction or in counter-distinction. The elder monk looked at him. This old man, thought he, stands within the sphere of desire still. He is empty, and knows nothing. He said not a single word to him for very shame. Laying his fan down, he rose from his seat, and returned to his cell. And elder monk Mogaliana also returned to his cell. The bystanders jumped up, crying, Seize this wicked old fellow, who wouldn't let us hear the sweet words of the sermon. And they mobbed him. Off he ran, and fell through a hole in the corner of a cesspool just outside the monastery. When he got up he was all over filth. When the people saw him, they felt sorry for it, and went away to the master. He asked, Why have you come at this unseasonable hour, layman? They told him what had happened. Layman, said he, this is not the only time this old man has been pulled up, and not knowing his own power, pitted himself against the strong, only to be covered all over with filth. Long ago he knew not his powers, pitted himself against the strong, and was covered with filth as he is covered now. Then, at their request, he told them a story of the olden time. Once upon a time, when Brahmadatta was king of Benares, the Bodhisattva was a lion who lived in a mountain cave in the Himalayas. Hard by were a lot of boars, living by a lakeside. And beside the same lake lived a company of hermits in huts made of leaves and the branches of trees. One day it so happened that the lion had brought down a buffalo or elephant or some such game. And, after eating what he listed, he went down to drink at this lake. Just as he came out, a sturdy boar happened to be feeding by the side of the water. He'll make a meal for me some other day, thought the lion. But fearing that if the boar saw him, he might never come there again, the lion as he came up out of the water slunk away to the side. This the boar saw, and at once the thought came into his mind, this is because he has seen me, and is afraid. He dare not come near me, and off he runs for fear. This day shall see a fight between me and a lion. So he raised his head, and made challenge against the lion in the first stanza. You are a 4-foot, so am I. Thus, friend, we're both alike, you see. Turn, lion, turn. Are you afraid? Why do you run away from me? The lion gave ear. Friend boar, he said, today there will be no fight between you and me. But this day week let us fight it out in this very spot. And with these words, he departed. The boar was highly delighted in thinking how he was to fight a lion. And he told all his friends and family about it. But the tale only terrified them. You will be the weakness of us all, they said, and yourself to boot. You know not what you can do, or you would not be so eager to do battle with a lion. When the lion comes, he'll be the death of you and all of us as well. Do not be so violent. These words made the boar fear on his part. What am I to do, then? He asked. Then the other boars advised him to roll about in the hermit's dunghill for the next 7 days, and let the muck dry on his body. Then on the 7th day he should moisten himself with dewdrops, and be first at the trysting place. They must find how the wind should lie, and get to the windward. And the lion, being a cleanly creature, would spare his life when he had a whiff of him. So accordingly he did. And on the day appointed, there he was. No sooner had the lion scented him, and smelt the filth, says he, "Friend boar, a pretty trick this. Were you not all besmeared with filth, I should have had your life this very day. But as it is, bite you I cannot, nor so much as touch you with my foot. Therefore I spare your life." And then he repeated the second stanza. O dirty boar, your hide is foul, the stench is horrible to me. If you would fight I yield me quite, and own you have the victory. Then the lion turned away, and procured his day's food. And soon, after a drink at the lake, he went back again to his cave on the mountain. And the boar told his family how he had beaten the lion. But they were terrified for fear the lion should come again another day and be the death of them all. So they ran away and took them to some other place. When the master had ended this discourse, he identified the birth. The boar of those days is now the old elder monk, and I myself was the lion.